What's up, guys?
What's up?
You're just making sure everything's set up and cleared. Thanks for hanging on there.
Here we go.
Hey, what's up, everyone? I'm Matthew Encina, and this is Mr. Ben Burns. We
What's up,
are
everybody?
your hosts today for the Future Live.
Surprise.
Surprise.
So we are streaming from YouTube, Facebook, and now Twitch, right?
Yeah, man. So what are we going to be talking about today?
Well, today we are going to be talking about how to get things done when you're feeling overwhelmed with tasks and projects and there just doesn't seem to be enough time in the day. But before we get to that, let's roll the titles. And we're back. So,
Woo!
hey,
We made it this far.
we didn't crash and burn yet. So, there we got a little applause.
Yeah.
There. Oh, we got a studio audience. Nice.
Hey guys.
So before we go any further, let's introduce our team there in the other room.
You guys want to introduce yourself?
The dream team, as Chris would say, but he's
That's
not
right.
here. We're missing one, Aaron. Where are you? Looking.
We're
Aaron.
looking for Aaron. Sleepy Castle might be sleeping
Erica's
right now.
taking his place today.
Yes, I'm in training right now. And
Aaron in training.
he was supposed to help me make sure I didn't do anything wrong, but
You did it. Good job.
yay!
Good job.
The
All
ship's
right.
still running. What's up, guys? My name is Mark Contreras. I edit, I shoot here, and I help out with a few things, including the marketing.
Woo!
Woo.
All right.
Let's do this.
All right. So obviously Mr. Christo is gone. He's not here. He's actually out still in Chicago because he just spoke with Nick Campbell over at Half Res.
So cool.
Super cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wish I got to go. Wish I
Yeah.
got an invite.
Me
Yeah.
too.
Sheesh.
I like
So-
Chicago.
But who knows? He might be tuning in just to watch us fail really bad without him.
Or do really amazing.
Or do really
Yeah,
amazing.
look at
Yeah.
that.
So
Nope.
to help us out, guys, just smash that like button. That would help us out a lot.
Yeah.
So
Prove to him.
before he left, though, he tasked the team with doing everything that he does on social. So right now we are in the middle of a Christo social media blackout.
Uh-oh.
So
Yeah.
I can't even remember the total list of things that he does on a daily basis. Can
Yeah, it's a crazy.
I took copious notes, but while he was out, basically everything that Chris does is he responds to all the comments on
Mhm.
pretty much every feed that we have.
you? Yep.
He makes most of the thumbnails that goes out to for all of the content that we put out.
Yeah.
Obviously, he QCs and checks everything with each of the team members for all the content that goes out. And
I mean,
And he
he's the
runs
one
the
that
show.
responds to every piece of content that you guys comment on.
Mhm.
I know that he handles a lot of like the Facebook messages and all that. So it's just an immense workload.
it's a lot.
It's a lot.
it's a lot.
And I think that we're starting to realize that it's a lot. And
Yeah.
so a couple of days ago, or maybe 2 nights ago, I got this message from him.
This is after he left, right?
Yeah, after he left. And he said, "Do you hear that?" I was like, "What?" And he goes, "The sound of that ball being dropped." And I was like, "Oh, no. What did we forget? What did
One
we do?"
day of him gone.
One day. I thought we were smooth sailing. I was like, "Oh yeah, we'll show
Me
him."
too, me too.
So what happened?
Day one.
What happened?
We let the podcast slip through the cracks. Typically, we publish podcasts on Tuesday,
Mhm.
and it didn't go out until yesterday. So, guys that follow the podcast rigorously, I apologize. We were a day late and $1 short, but I was so hoping that we would come through there.
Well, hopefully we don't crash and burn here on the live stream. So
That's right.
We'll get everything else right. We'll
Yeah.
make up for it, Chris.
No, we're doing
Yeah.
great already, guys. Good job. Great opening.
Hold it down. We don't want any of this going on. No car crashes.
Yeah, so this kind of comes at a time where both you and I are extraordinarily busy. I mean, on the blind side, we are running probably $1 million worth of business between the two of us.
Yeah.
And it's just, I mean, our workload is so heavy. And so as we talked about what we were going to talk about today, this idea of time management and running out of hours in the day kind of came up, and I was like, you know what? I bet you there's a lot of people out there that feel overwhelmed. So that's kind of like the source of things, you know?
Yeah. So, I mean, just to piggyback off of that, for me, on top of helping out here with the live stream and everything that's going on in the future, I'm currently running about 6 different jobs right now. And each of those 6 jobs has a small team of like 2, 3, 4 people, depending on what it is.
Yeah.
So during the day, during our little 9-10 hour day, my brain is constantly switching between each of the projects, making sure I know what's going on each, the status of each, and then making sure that everybody has what they need, both on the client side and then both on the artist side, right? Them being able to make sure that we keep moving,
right?
And then, that we don't go dark, right?
Right.
So there's a lot of that.
I see you walking around the office and you're like, chill. You're like super smooth.
I know.
Like,
I see that too. Sang and I carpooled home yesterday, and we were just talking about, damn, Matthew is just killing it, and then he's taking on Chris's job right now with the live stream, and we're like, how does he do all of that, manage like so many projects, so many freelancers, so many people, and still maintain a cool, like, you're not freaking out at all?
He's just a chill guy.
Yeah, maybe, or maybe that's just external, and then all of
like internal,
everything is all bottled up here.
So can you dig? I mean, are you feeling overwhelmed at this point, or is it starting to creep in, or are you cool?
Most of the time, I'm pretty cool as a cucumber. You'll just notice me power walking across the office here and there, trying to
with your "don't talk to me" face on.
Yeah, exactly. It's like I know I have a face where it's just like I know I have invisible shutters on. It's like, just don't talk to me right now. I need to get to the next person.
Yeah.
And I'm always carrying or spilling coffee everywhere just because it's like I need to keep going. So
yeah,
I'm running around.
You are?
Yeah.
Spilling coffee.
Those are all the coffee marks all over the office.
I see. No, we know.
So you handle it pretty well. How about you guys out in the room? How do you guys handle that feeling of like overwhelmed? Do you have anything from the past?
I don't know. I mean, I was looking forward to this show to find out some tips from Matthew, because I feel like when my plate is overwhelmed with so much stuff, it's hard. I mean, Chris told me this too. He's like, just focus on the small things and get them done so you can cross them off your plate. So start, even though you have this huge list and there's one really massive thing, like for me, the type manual right now, which is such a big project, but he's like, just do the things that are going to take the less amount of time.
It's like the snowball method, right? You start with the small stuff, and then eventually it builds and builds and builds to the big stuff. You know, that's a debt repayment strategy. Right. So you're using that for your tasks. That's cool. Has it ever failed you, or did you used to do that?
Well, I mean, I do have a time when we talk about time management. One time that stands out from others that I actually dropped the ball and failed. This was school though, so I feel like, I mean, at that time in my life, it was definitely a big moment, because even though it wasn't real client work, it was like, that was my life. And I just had so much on my plate, it was like my graduating term, or no, my term before I graduated. And I had so much going on. I just couldn't even focus on, my mind was everywhere, and I felt like I was so scattered. And this was the only time ever that I didn't deliver for a final. And that feeling was, and it wasn't because I was trying, I was putting in my all, and I stayed up I literally stayed up all night until the class at 2 to try and get what I could. But like what everyone else brought and what I brought, like I couldn't even face walking into the room. I was having like a panic attack.
So
like,
what was the setup? What was the project that you had to do? Was it like explain that? Okay,
it was a packaging design. I was designing a rebranding or designing a restaurant, from the packaging to the menu. I mean, people went above and beyond for this teacher and did like environmental graphics. And the reason why I feel like I kind of dropped the ball or failed was because compared to my other teachers, he was so loose with the deliverables. So he just wanted to, because he wanted to like act like it was real world, and really like he wants you to manage that, not him to manage you. So he was trying to base it like that. And
Yeah.
so I just brought in the bare minimum, and he's like, you're going first, and he like called me out, and he's like, and he was like, he was just really disappointed in me, and I was also really disappointed in myself, and
that's the worst.
I know,
right?
it wasn't even
That's
like he was
the
yelling
worst.
at me. It was,
when people are not angry at you, especially, I mean, everybody's been in this situation with their dad or their mom or something like that, where it's like you get sat down and they say, listen, I'm really disappointed in you. God, those words just like knife to the heart, right? So what was the takeaway? What was the lesson from that experience?
for me,
Yeah.
I haven't yet. I never want to put myself in that position again. I never want to I never want to do take on so many projects. For me, it was too many classes. It was too much. And the classes were right next to each other. So it was, his class was Monday and my next class was Tuesday. And there were two really big finals. And I just couldn't deliver because one class was so demanding. This was not his class. It was the other class. And they had like a list of all these things, a process book, like a spatial piece, a huge 200-page book. And so his class was just like, bring what you can. So for me, I focused on what the actual list said from my other class, and for his, I just brought what I could, which was not a lot. And so that's where I dropped the ball. And I never want to put myself in that position again where I'm just taking on too many things, because I realize I just can't. I can't deliver. I'll deliver on one, but I can't deliver on the other. And I haven't,
It probably reduces the quality of the work that you're doing too, with all that stress.
Yeah.
Yeah, controlling the word yes is super powerful. Choosing the things that you say yes to is one of the most important things to kind of keep you from being overwhelmed. And that's definitely something that I struggle with.
It reminds me of that movie, was it Yes Man?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jim Carrey?
Yeah. I mean, I feel like I'm a bit of a yes man too when it comes to just taking on more and more work. I like working with people. I like helping people, and I think that reflects with all the client work that comes in. So when a client comes up with a cool project or they do need help with something and they're coming to us, typically I'll say yes and keep forgetting about everything else that I have on my plate. And so I'm in this situation where I have, 6 or 7 projects going on, and somehow I manage, right? But
isn't that the title of Michael Scott's book in
that's right.
The Office? Somehow I manage?
Somehow I manage. So I'm the Michael Scott of The Office is what you're trying to say. But yeah, I mean, I totally feel your story, Molly. I've been there. I went to Art Center also. There are times where I bit off more than I could chew, and, I would just basically sleep in the labs or just work all night in the labs until Chris Doe's class in the next morning, where it's like, I get 5 minutes of sleep of shut-eye accidentally, and then it's like pop a Red Bull and then I'm ready to go in class. So that was pretty rough, and I learned a lot of time management skills in Art Center, but also getting out of that, coming out of just being working for myself or managing my own time, being a creative director here at Blind, I have to manage other people's time. I have to manage client expectations and just have all of that in the mix. So there's a lot of personal skills that I needed to develop over the years to be able to do that.
Yeah.
Because it's easy. Like for me, I have a task list that I build every morning. When I get into work, I make check boxes for everything I know that's very important. I prioritize those things so I know the things that cannot slip today.
Is that, do you carry a notebook?
Yeah, I carry my notebook.
Can we see it? Or I would because I want that system. It sounds.
Yeah, let me grab it.
Sorry.
Molly, you live out of a notebook too, right?
Yeah, I live out of a notebook. I just want to know if there's a better way to live, but for me, that fits my my lifestyle right now.
So what's your how do you manage that? For me, notebook got it was way too overwhelming. Yeah. So.
For me, I guess it's just I write down new tasks that I get, and then I'll have a to-do for the day or a to-do for the week. It depends because some things roll over. So, I just have it's usually for the week actually to do. And then I cross those off one by one, but I don't. And for me, I'm looking at it okay, what's going to take the least amount of time? Let me just do that. Like what Chris told me,
Yeah.
So that's what I'm doing.
Gotcha.
I do have a weekly thing, but I also have a daily thing, so I don't get too overwhelmed by having stuff to do during the week, so that I can break it down into smaller chunks, and then go by that. And then I also yesterday and today I meditated in the morning.
Meditation.
So yeah, so that it wasn't like overwhelming, which I'm glad I did, because this morning it was Aaron wasn't here, and I'm just like, oh crap, I have to do this on my own now. So.
You're doing a good job.
You're doing a great job.
Thank you.
Let's see your system.
Let's see it.
Okay, so this is just for me personally, right? Like, this is how I manage my day. Like, you won't be able to see this. It might be a little blown out. It might not be sharp, but essentially what I'll do is I'll make check boxes for myself during the day. Anything that's really important, I'll put a little star by it, and that's the bullet system.
Yeah.
So if you could look that up online. It's a open source
journal
the
bullet system.
Yeah. So I use that for me personally. So I write all my to-dos during the day, and then flag anything that absolutely needs my attention. So it helps me prioritize what I personally need to be doing during the day. So that helps answer the question, like, how do I manage my time?
The personal time, yeah.
How do I manage everybody else's time?
Yeah.
So,
okay, that's juicy. Let's get into that in a minute. From way back in the day when I started freelancing, I was basically working so many jobs because I wasn't charging enough. I was working 20 to 30 jobs at a time, and it got to the point where I started to lose track of people's names, and which project to send, which post to send to what client. So there was like crossover, and it was like I was just losing my mind. It got to the point where I was so stressed out in this dream business that I had that I didn't want to sit in front of the computer anymore. And so at this one point, I had this client. I think it was like a $350 logo, and that was like the dream, because I've finally broken out of like the $25 mark. And I sent this guy the wrong proof.
Oh my God.
I sent him somebody else's work. And it was at that moment that I didn't lose the client, but it was close. It was close. And I would have had to pay money back that I didn't have.
Right.
And so I knew at that point that it was time for me to establish a system. So what I did was I went and took a productivity class. And the method that I found to keep things organized, I use a combination of MacMail, the foldering system in there, and then Todoist. And so my philosophy around email is I keep inbox 0, which means at any given point, I have no messages in all my inboxes. So when an email comes in, I read it, and I determine if there's a task in there that I need to accomplish. Then if it's something that I can do in 5 minutes, I'll knock it out right then. If it's something that's going to take more time, I add it to Todoist, schedule time on the calendar, because it's integrated with Google Calendars, and then file the email away. So I know, but simply by looking at my inbox, how organized I am and how much my workload is going to be.
Ooh, I have a question.
Go for it.
Thinking about. So you know how you say manage your time, where do tasks that are only going to take or an hour, figure that out. But how, when something keeps taking longer than you expect, is there a way? It's like, this is what's happening with me right now with something I'm designing, and it keeps taking me longer and longer. Is there a time limit where you give yourself, where you're like, you know what, at this point, I'm done? Or do you just keep working at it and keep spending more time, and then it leaves you less time for other things?
That's a good question. I think that kind of bleeds into the quest for perfection, almost, where you're like, I if I can just push it a little bit more, it'll get that much better. And if you keep pushing for perfection, you'll never attain that goal. And so, yes, there does have to be a time where you're like, okay, this is good enough. It's tall enough to ride the ride. And then you just kind of move on. However, you also want to track how long it takes you to do certain things. So I know for me, to put together a mood board or a stylescape, that's going to take between 4 and 6 hours to really do a good job. And I only know that because I've done so many of them in the past. So it's just knowing, your skill set
So
and the way you
record.
approach each deliverable.
Yeah, it's like being mindful of the time that you're putting into each of these tasks, because once you lose track and get distracted, you're going to lose track of all the other priorities. So that's a great tip.
We have some comments coming in too. Danny C says, I always write my list of tasks the night before. So the first thing in the morning when I get up, I don't have to think, what do I need to do next?
That's really good.
Alexander says, I'm going to lose my job because I'm very bad on time management. Please help me, guys.
We're trying to keep our jobs.
We're trying.
Yeah.
There was a great comment here by Carrie Murphy. She says, everyone should read Eat That Frog. And I believe that's a reference to a Tom Sawyer saying. And I've heard about this concept, but haven't been too deep into it. But the understanding that I have is eating the frog is something that you pretty much don't want to do. It's a gross thing. But the way that it relates to time management is you want to typically handle the most important thing of your day first in the morning, because if you don't do that early, you are going to lose track of it throughout other distractions, and that's going to linger throughout the whole day. So if you can take care of it first thing, you're not going to worry about that for the rest of your day. And I think that's the main idea around that concept of eat that frog.
That's really powerful. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we as human beings just want to avoid anything that's really hard to do.
Right.
So that's why it's easy to pick up the little 5-minute task or the easy task. It's like you feel productive because you're checking a bunch of stuff off of your list, but it's like there's this big, half a day task or a full day task that is on your list, and you're just avoiding it at all costs just because I have to sit down, I have to think really hard, I have to be very absorbed in this and be able to spend the time to really do deep thinking on something.
Right.
And that's mentally challenging and very draining, because after you do that, you can't really do anything after. You only have so much creative energy in the day to spend on something.
Yeah.
And once you get into that task, you're drained and you'll be useless for all the other stuff. So that's kind of tough to manage.
Yeah, speaking about being drained, there's this direct connection, right, between our mental and physical bodies when it comes to stress. So if we're not managing that mental stress appropriately, then we're going to have a lot of problems physically. And this is something that I encountered. I was working at Google for 10 years. And about halfway through, I got to a point where I was feeling a lot of mental stress because it was just completely overwhelming. I was managing some people out in India. I had my own projects that I was working on, and I was on the sales department for global sales. So basically a lot of work. And what I did was I took a time management class that was offered by the company, and it was one of the greatest classes that I've ever taken. It's changed my life as far as the way I approach stress mentally and physically. One of the big things that I got out of that is you have to take care of your physical body once you start feeling those signals from yourself mentally. At the time, I was feeling scattered, distracted. I wanted to do anything to get away from the big projects that were at hand. So, I would play video games, go on Facebook, things that weren't really helping and making things worse. Now, when it came to the physical part, something that really helped me was, I think it's cliche, but exercise is going to help clear the mind. Our mind is constantly, battling all these different things. We have decisions to make. We have anxiety because of what's to look ahead. And apparently anxiety is when you're thinking of the future. So I kept on thinking of all these things that I had on my plate. But exercise helped me out with that. I got into triathlon, but unfortunately got injured about 3 years after that. So
but you were fit though.
Yeah, I was.
You're a fit hurt dude.
Doing pretty well at that point. So I think the big takeaway that I had is, take care of your physical body, because that controls what you're thinking mentally.
Interesting.
There's a TED Talk about this too. It's really interesting.
That's cool. Okay. Yeah. So that's a lot of like personal task management, but then we get into the creative director roles where we're managing teams, and that presents a whole new struggle, right?
Right. Yeah, so beyond just managing what's on your to-do list, you kind of have to manage everything else that everyone else is doing.
That's crazy. I can't imagine.
The puppet master.
Yeah.
How much more if you have kids, right? That's more people.
Right. And I'm not there yet, but, someday. So, the biggest challenge is making sure that everybody's aligned to begin with. So typically what I'll do with all of my teams, I'll sit down with them early in the week and say, guys, here's our weekly goals. Here's when we're posting to client. We're going to post Wednesday and we're going to post Friday. For those postings, I want these things to be done. We need to have this and we need to have this done.
Set expectations.
And are we cool with that? Are you guys concerned with that at all? So I give them the room to just let me know if like, hey, that's overwhelming, that's too much work, or for them to just confirm like, yeah, actually that's good. Like I can do that. And I have each of my team members make sure that they're comfortable with the asks that I'm giving them. So I set the weekly goals. And then, so I'll do that with each of my teams.
Yeah.
And then I'll use Trello, which is a digital to-do list, right? That everybody can see.
Trello's awesome.
Trello's awesome. Yeah. I use that for everything. And so I have boards for all of my jobs. And all of those jobs have to-do lists, basically outlining what we talk about every week.
Right.
Here's what needs to get done. Let's push this forward and make sure we are posting. The only way I'm able to manage so many teams is by having really strong leads on each team that I could rely on, right?
Oh, so delegation.
So delegation. So much of this, like, I would not be sleeping at all if I'm the one who's actually sitting down and micromanaging every single task that has to be done. I like to focus on the bigger goals of like, here's what needs to get done, and here's what the client is expecting, here's what I'm expecting. Can you guys work to make sure that happens? And then I help kind of mitigate or help answer any creative direction that does need to happen. I try to stay off of saying, move this to the left, move this to the right. I'm just more trying to give like the larger goal. It's like, is this hitting the goal that we needed to hit for this week?
And plus you're empowering them to do their jobs too.
Right.
You know, there's a certain level of trust in the professionals that you bring on board.
Right.
I think that's a big pain of our audience is that, you know, a lot of these designers will go out and they'll find clients that really don't trust them to make those decisions. And hearing your management style where you're like setting benchmarks and goals and not micromanaging craft unless you need to.
Right.
You know, that's really cool.
Yeah. And I mean, it does happen. Sometimes I have to jump on the box, meaning I have to actually do the work when there's a fire. Like there was an instance this past week where I had already delivered a job and something had slipped through the cracks and one of the files was not delivered properly, not in the proper format that we needed. This was all rendered out of Nuke, which is a program I've never used in my entire life.
I have never even heard of it. So there you go.
Right, exactly. Right. So the guy that I was working with, it wasn't here because the job was already over. And then the client's like, dude, we need this ASAP. So
hello Google.
I jumped on the box and I looked at this crazy node structure. I'm like, I don't know what any of this does. And I'm just like, had to go through the chain of the nodes and figure out. And eventually I figured it out. And I think the reason why I was able to figure it out is because I spent enough time just like sitting down next to the person who was working on it. And I was asking very clearly like, oh, why did you do that thing? Or like, where does this go? And like, how are you doing this thing? So I had never touched the program, but because I was there and because of my own curiosity, I just wanted to know how the program works and like how he was able to do what he was doing. I had enough kind of just like secondary knowledge of it that I was able to jump in and just kind of do it very, very slowly, but figure out like how to export the file with the proper settings.
Right. So, well, and you know, honestly, the way that you manage projects is kind of like the benchmark for blind. And so I don't really have anything to add, but it's really fascinating to hear you talk about it because I'm always like on the outside looking in and I'm like, how's he doing this? And so
I'm wondering that too.
I didn't know that you had those weekly meetings.
Right.
You know, so that's really kind of cool.
Yeah, so there's that. But then, you know, so obviously if I'm sitting on the box doing this task very, very slowly, something that I didn't anticipate in my day, all of my other to-dos get ignored.
Yeah.
And I have to put on these like walls down and I just talk to my leads. I talk to my producers, my project managers and say like, hey guys, I'm dealing with a fire right now. Nobody else can do this at the moment, and I'm probably the best suited right now to figure this out. I need a little bit of time and space to figure this out. So they give me like an hour or two just to like not bother me with anything. And I let them know, it's like, I trust you guys to make sure everything else is going. And because I've already established this trust and I have strong leads on my team, things get done.
That's great.
You know, and I don't really have to worry about it in the back of my head. They know, like, it's like, okay, don't bother Matthew right now or he might explode on you or break the computer in half trying to figure this out. But, you know, we have a good culture here, and we have a good set of people in the team that can ebb and flow when things like this happen.
Right.
We have some comments coming in. Some people want to know, well, someone said, Ben, can you make a tutorial on how to manage your inbox with Google Planner? And someone else wants to know, can you elaborate more on the scheduling feature? And what's the name of the open source planner again? So what is besides Trello, are there other things that...
Well, so there's a couple of things going on there. I will produce something, either a piece of content or a video that really explains my process in depth for my personal task management. Mm-hmm. And then Matthew, you use the bullet journal, right?
Yeah.
Which is just a system.
It's just an analog system. It's free. You could buy the bullet journal too.
Yeah.
We also have our focus worksheet, which is very similar. It's a very powerful tool for help you to just look at everything that you need to do today and just align your mind and your time to that. So
the focus worksheet is something really quite cool. The concept of a lot of the time management principles that we talk about is setting goals and then only saying yes to those things that help you achieve your goals. Mm-hmm. And so you literally say no to everything else.
Right.
So what the focus worksheet is going to do, and it's free, guys. It's on our website.
I'm posting it right now.
Okay, cool.
So everyone knows.
So what you can do with the focus worksheet is set those goals and have weekly reminders of what are the 3 tasks that you need to get done in order to achieve those goals. So if you're looking for something like that, just head to the website and download it. It's a PDF. It's free. And I think that you guys will really enjoy that. Mm-hmm. In order to manage people and their tasks, I'm going to make an assertion here that you really kind of have to be a master of your personal task management, right? Because it's really difficult to manage somebody else's workload and their day if your day is a mess.
Right.
Do you agree? Do you disagree?
I agree. I mean, maybe from the outside it might look chaotic if you see how much I bounce around in the office. Mm-hmm. But, one thing I know from managing people and jumping around on projects is I usually do about 30-minute blocks of everything.
Oh.
So you jump around, and this is just something that I think there was a Google video out there. I'll have to find the link to share, but there was a cool thing just showing the difference between how makers manage their day or designers manage their day versus a manager. And they're 2 very separate things. Interesting. Designers, they need the time, they need the space to have the problem given to them at the beginning of the day,
right?
Marinate that and kind of dissect it, think about it, and then synthesize a powerful solution around that. So they need these half day, full day increments to produce something good. Gotcha. You can't just give a designer something and be like, hey, make this in the next hour for me. That's unless it's a menial task, just update the font. It's if you're giving them a real design problem, they need time to think about that. So that's how I know my artists out there, I give them a couple of really big tasks to do throughout the week. And I know it's I'll give you a day for that. I'll give you half a day for that. How does that sound? Is that cool? And I won't bug them. Until they've hit that milestone, and then they share it with me. I give them a little bit of feedback, and then they have another day or so to work on something. So that's how I manage them. For my own time, it's very different because I'm not the one who's necessarily making everything. Right. I know I have to be somewhere every 30 minutes. Mm-hmm. So it's 30 minutes on email, making sure everything is good on the clients, making sure all requests are being dealt with. Then I go to, check with my next team. It's how are things going over here? Sit down with them. Do you need any help? Do you need any direction from me? So at that, and I develop a pretty good flow where I'm just kind of bouncing around to each of my teams every half hour, so that everybody gets a little bit of time and attention, and they know that anything that they want me to review, it's okay, well, just have it ready for me. Just at the end of each day, just render out or save your dailies, which is just your progress. When I get a chance, I'm going to look at it, and then I'll come sit with you and give you feedback.
Interesting.
So it just makes our meetings, our sit-down meetings, 5-10 minute sit-down meetings with each artist to be very, very productive. It's
gotcha.
I saw this. I know the goal is this. Explain to me your idea. Explain to me your work. It's just how are we hitting these goals? Mm-hmm. And then if they can't explain it, then I kind of help course correct them to make sure that they're aligned with the weekly goals, what we need to accomplish.
Gotcha. Okay. You could take that same goal setting concept that you do at the beginning of the week with deadlines and a time allotted, and apply that to your personal life too. That's something that, or your personal tasks too.
Mm-hmm.
That's something I've been able to do with the focus worksheet. Is like the logical next step is to take those goals and those tasks that you have to get done in that day and literally schedule them out in your day.
Right.
Because then it becomes very, very easy to say, no, I don't have time to do that.
Right.
One of the questions that I just saw pop in is, how do you say no to the boss man?
Oh yeah, I was gonna ask.
You know, that's a great question. And so if you have a plan for your day and you have all these chunks of time scheduled, you can say, listen, I can absolutely add that to my list, but as you can see here, we'll lose this piece of the puzzle. And if you're okay with losing that, I can absolutely prioritize, and that's fine.
I think that's where transparency is key. Let them
That's
know
it.
this is what's on my plate. You know, help me decide what I need to work on because
Right.
I can't take care of everything.
But you have to be able to estimate how much time something is going to take,
Right.
and then be firm, like protect that time, because it's the only
Right.
unrenewable resource, right, in the world is time.
Right.
You
Yeah.
know, once it's gone, you can't get it back. So, I protect my time just ferociously.
Right.
You know.
And I think one thing you all creatives should know about themselves is you have an estimation like, oh, this is only going to take me an hour. Pad the
Double it.
double it. And it's funny because like I did not realize this until I think I did some work with a producer here at Blind. And, you know, she was asking me, look, how long do you think we need to animate this thing? I was like, probably 3 days. She wrote down 5 days. And I was like, why'd you do that? She's like, oh, you know, I have to pad it for you creatives because like you can't really estimate your time. And ever since then, I was very self-aware that it's like I look at a task in my head. It's like, okay, this is going to take me an hour. And then I look up at the clock and it's, 3 hours have gone by. It's like, oh, shoot.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you're totally right. So when you have an estimation of how long you think something's going to take, pad it. Pad it. Just give yourself that extra space. And if you do have the luxury of extra time, great. You have either more free time to do something fun later, or you can take on more. You can move on to your next task, your next thing on the list that was probably a lower priority, and you get more stuff done during the day.
Definitely. All right.
Nick, just quickly,
Go for
Nick's
it.
asking, Matthew, do you miss doing the hands-on work now? Like, wait, sorry, let me reread this. Do you miss doing the hands-on work now that you're a manager? Is it worth the trade-off?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, absolutely, it's worth the trade-off. I do miss making sometimes, and I still get my hands a little dirty on the initial states of a project. So when we're doing like the big thinking and design, sometimes I'll just mock something up. But I know I have the skills to take something to detailed fruition and make it really high fidelity, but I'd rather move on to the next thing. Like to me, I enjoy more just like problem solving and working with clients, ideation, and just like bigger picture stuff.
Right.
I enjoy that quite a bit. Like the craft is really fun, but for me, I enjoy that more.
I think that's a natural progression. Some people don't make it. Some people are really hardcore makers.
Right. And that's fine.
But I think it's a natural career progression there.
Right.
So we probably should move on to the next segment soon. But I wanted to leave you guys with 10 things. These are 10 productivity don'ts by Tim Ferris.
Let's hear it.
I want to challenge you guys in the booth to kind of like score yourself. If you do these things, mark yourself with a 1, and then we'll kind of tally everybody's score at the end of the day.
Okay.
All right. So rule number 1: do not pick up unknown phone numbers.
Ooh, a lot of robocalls nowadays.
Yeah. I am not guilty of this one. All right. So here's number 2. Don't email first thing in the morning or late at night. And the reason why you do this is because, you want to set your day up and eat that frog, right, Mark?
Yep.
That's right.
Eat it up.
All right. So number 3, this is a doozy for me. Don't attend meetings with no clear agenda and no stated end time.
That's a good one.
All right. Number 4, don't let people ramble.
That's a little difficult.
Yeah, that is hard. How do you cut someone off?
It's one of those things. You gotta protect that time ferociously. All right. Number 5, don't check emails constantly. Check at set scheduled times.
Guilty.
Okay. All right. So number 6, don't over communicate with low profit, high maintenance customers. Ouch. All right, number 7, do not please everybody.
Goes back to the yes man principle.
Yep. Yep, that's hard for me. That is really hard because I really want to make Matthew happy right now. All right, number 8. Don't work more to fix overwhelm. Prioritize. And this means saying no to things. Don't extend your hours to get more done. So it's a race to the bottom. Okay. Number 9, don't carry a cell phone 24/7. Pick one day of the week and turn it off.
Ooh.
A full day? That's difficult.
That's crazy.
Oh, all right. And the last one. Don't expect your work to fill a personal void. Meaning don't put a magnitude of weight on the value of your work, your personal self. All right, so how'd you guys score?
7.
7 out of... Oh, my God, dude. Oh.
7 that you do or 7 that you don't?
7 rules broken.
Yeah, 7 broken rules.
I have 4 broken rules on that
Oh, that's
one.
great.
Yeah,
see, that's why you're cool as a cucumber strolling around
well,
here.
that's still... I felt like that was a lot. It's like, oh, you're right. I mean,
Compared to Mark's 7 over there, dude.
I thought the time management classes helped me, but no.
Molly?
I didn't score right.
Oh my God.
No, I mean I didn't do it right. I was just like, yes, I do that. No, I don't do that.
How many yeses do you have?
4.
Okay, so you're right there with Matthew. That's good.
But no, I don't think I
my
think I
yeses
have
were
more.
6.
Oh man, we screwed this up.
We
royally.
screwed this up.
Erica,
Yeah.
what'd you do?
Wait, so we got
Erica.
I got like 6.5.
Okay.
Like,
How do you have a half?
Okay, so
It's binary.
well, it's sort of like the pickup calls thing. I did that because I thought it might have been a job calling.
Okay.
So, because when I was looking for work, I'm not going to recognize the number of, someone calling for work. So I couldn't tell the difference between one of those fake calls of scammers and bots and whatever, and then like an actual real thing, because I was applying to places that weren't in California.
Gotcha.
So.
All right, I'm gonna stand by rule number 4 and not let you ramble. Okay, so what's next up, guys?
Next up is mail time.
Heyo.
Mail time.
Yes.
Sweet.
Nice. Okay, so we do have one package. It is addressed to Chris Doe, the Future, from David Baker.
So we're opening up your mail, Chris. We're also just rummaging through your office while you're out.
It's all going to be gone by the time you get back. So we got
I
here.
think I know what that is.
Ah, okay, cool. So The Business of Expertise by David Baker. So this was sent to him from the author, it
Nice.
looks like.
Oh.
That's really
Wow,
cool.
That's awesome.
David, thank you. I'm going to steal this and read it.
Yeah, Chris wasn't here to open his mail, so,
All
what
right.
happened.
Hey, is that illegal for opening someone else's mail?
Too late.
it's to the office.
We'll just edit that out.
So I got a couple of notes. One is from Tony Lopez. Tony is a loyal follower. He follows everybody. I think he follows everybody's personal channels too. And he ordered a Future mug last night. Thank you, Tony. And he wanted to get a signed card from the team. And so we're going to do that for you. Thank you for your support. I see all of your comments. It was good to see that note come through. All right. And then the second one is from Yoonji, who's another really loyal Future fan.
She's on a lot of the live.
Yeah, we recognize your name. It's unique, and we see you all over the place. And she's got some good news. She says, I just wanted to thank you again for such valuable videos, podcasts, and worksheets. I'm self-taught, and I think that you have the best content. Your channel is more than just a lifesaver for me. That's huge. So long story short, she used the tips from our channel to secure an internship.
Awesome.
So congratulations, Yoonji. Let's get a round of applause for her.
Yeah.
Woo! Thank you for the note.
Thank you.
When you guys email us from the Future or reach out via Facebook Messenger, it is one of us that reads it. I typically handle emails. Chris is on Facebook. Matthew's usually on Instagram DM. So, we see everything you guys send, and we try to respond to most of it. But thank you. All right, so I think that's it for mail time.
That's right.
Cool.
All right.
Next segment.
Next segment is design news. This is a new segment. We have sound. No sound. Okay.
No sound.
All right. All right. Design news. So what's current in this week?
Yeah. Okay. So this is a new segment. The reason why we're doing this is that it's inspired by a couple of shows that I've been watching on YouTube that really talk about the design sphere and what's going on. And I want our voice in there. And I thought that it was really kind of a neat thing. So we're going to talk about a couple of logos today. And then the big thing that everybody's talking about, the new iPhone.
Big thing.
Yeah. So if you guys can head to my computer.
Okay.
Everybody hack into Ben's computer right now.
Hack time.
Whenever you guys are
there it is.
There we go.
Okay.
Hey-o. All right. So what's really neat is Atlassian, who makes Trello, just rebranded. And they released this on September 11th. And you can see that their new brand is a simplified version of an A. It uses a really cool gradient. You can see the transition here as they've moved from this kind of, I don't want to insult them, but 90s looking guy holding up a platform all the way through to their new symbol. So, Matthew, what's your initial take on this transformation?
I really like the shape of it. It's nice that it's an A.
Yeah.
You know, those things kind of always play well together.
Right.
And you see a little bit of the letter form in the logo, so that's cool.
Yeah, and I like that it's chunky.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's one of those things where if you can, Chris always says, you know, pick a square and see if you can fill that with your icon. And it's just this really chunky shape. And you can see here that they're actually using it kind of like the Google sphere. What would you call this?
The doodles?
Oh,
Google
yeah.
Doodles. Yeah, so, I mean, what's good about this is they're just trying to show that the logo has legs, meaning that it can be used across all kinds of applications. So obviously it probably works really, really big, very, very small for just general use. But for fun things like you have up on your screen, you know, they could play with more thematic things. And it just shows the flexibility of the logo that within the mark, you can actually explore a lot of things.
Right.
So, it will last you for a long time is the whole point, right?
Yeah.
So it could last through seasons or how things change. They can make commentary. And you see this all the time with Google. And when Google does their doodles, which they'll just update their logo whenever there's a significant event or a significant holiday. And then when you click on that, something animates or it tells you a little bit more about the person. And it's just a fun way to show what the brand is about and allowing the brand to celebrate and participate in two big global events.
Yep, exactly. And I think that the only way that they could have done this is by fixating on that and trying to get that chunky piece, that chunky shape, because it would be really, really hard to do what they've done here if they had a wider typeset with no icon like this.
Right.
So we can see their new product logos below, which they haven't changed much, right? The Trello one is still the same.
It's pretty much the same.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's minor updates to it.
How do you feel about the palette?
I mean, for me, I don't use all of their products.
Yeah, I don't either.
The thing that I struggle with here is that everything is blue, which I get it. It wants to be part of the same family. That totally makes sense. I probably would have made the same types of decisions. But as a user on the other side, and I'm looking at this, if I'm using all of their different products for my productivity, it's hard to figure out. I would imagine it'd be hard to figure out which one is which if that's how they're meant to be presented. Whereas somebody like Google in G Suite, they do a pretty good job of color coding things, right? So if I see something yellow, I know it's going to be.
You don't have to think about it.
It's slides, right? Green is
bam,
sheets.
you're there.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
And imagine if the text isn't there, if you're just looking at the logo.
That would be tough.
It is.
That would be tough.
Do they swap those out with the patterns, or is that just the main logo that they do that with?
Well, I think that these are all their product.
Yeah.
So the Atlassian makes multiple products. Trello is one of them. And so every single one of these is a different product that has its own brand. It's just very, very closely tied. And so, when we look at branding, we talk about, is this going to be a house of brands, which is multiple brands under one house, or is this going to be a branded house? And so this would be a branded house where everything looks very, very, very similar. It's kind of a blend between the two because there's multiple, names of each product. But I would say that this leans more towards branded house. Okay, cool. So this is a pretty radical transformation. Let's take a look at this one more time. And this is, of course, over the course of time. But the transition has been pretty radical. And it contrasts nicely with our next logo that we're going to critique is Stripe's new logo.
What is Stripe?
Okay, so Stripe is a payment platform. This is what a lot of websites use to collect payments for e-commerce and stuff like that. And they also have like terminals. So a lot of times where you see the iPad at a coffee shop or something like that, and you're swiping your card there, it can be Stripe that's processing those payments. Yeah. So if
like
we look
Square?
at the kind of like Square.
Yeah.
Yep. So if we look at the logo, not much has changed.
Just like the T, the I.
Yeah, I'm
P?
interested in this. You know, before the Atlassian one, we saw a dramatic change, versus Stripe's update is very, very minimal, and I like it. You know, I love the fact that they were able to bring the S closer to the T by chopping off that crossbar. I like that they've mimicked the angles throughout the entire typeset. So the top of the T is the same angle as the dot on the I and the bottom of the P. So all these angles are repeated throughout the new logo. My question is, what drove this decision to revise? Like, what was the business driver here? I mean, we'd all be guessing, but thoughts?
Maybe to refresh the brand, or maybe to look and feel.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like that the old logo with the T, I don't know if it's just from your screen. Can I cut to it? The old one, it looks like awkward. Like, what's going on with the back of that T?
Right. It's just minor things. I mean, it's very, very minor. And like maybe this is their in-house designer or team that's looking at this and has been looking at the same logo for a couple of months or years and just like, we could use a little tweak here. Like
and only designers would notice this, probably.
I mean, I think so. Like, I feel like there's a certain refinement that your brand wants to have to reflect how how you see your brand, right? And the more refined that mark is, like, the better you look overall. So it was
done in-house.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah, this was done in-house.
Yeah, no,
so.
I like it. So it's just a small iterative update. I mean, I don't think there would be any rhyme or reason other than aesthetic.
Yeah.
It's like, I want to improve the aesthetic of this.
Luckily, Stripe is mostly a digital company. So when we look at rebranding, a lot of people in our audience chase these projects where they're chomping at the bit to get a big rebranding project. One thing that a lot of people don't think about is the cost of rebranding, not just the design cost for the logo and the all that kind of stuff, but the actual implementation of this stuff. So a subtle change like this, if they were a company that has a lot of physical products and a lot of physical presence that's not digital, the impact to the business could be huge. I mean, it could cost millions to roll out this brand on a physical level throughout the known universe.
Right. But I think with this update, it's subtle enough that even if both versions of the logo exist out there, it wouldn't hurt the recognition of the brand.
I see.
So like, even if like half of the assets out there right now are still using the old logo and they're progressively rolling out the new one, it doesn't feel weird, but it's a nice little progressive update that they probably have some bigger rollout strategy that they're doing with everything. So to me, like, that's the positive for this. Like, not only is it digital, which you could just flip a switch essentially and just replace all those things, but even if it does exist,
it's still
in both,
pretty close. Yeah,
they look pretty close, and I would still recognize that mark.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I mean, kudos to the designer who did this. I don't have their name, but thumbs up. It looks good. And speaking of money and spending and dollars, let's talk about the Apple's release this week.
iPhone X.
Lots of news.
Let's talk. Who's buying? First of all, who's gonna buy it?
Well, when I have an upgrade.
I like it. I have the upgrade plan.
Yeah.
So Mark's
I always want
$1,000.
the newest thing. I'm one of those people. I always just want, like, as soon as something new comes out, I have FOMO.
Yeah.
I'm like, I need it.
Erica, what do you think? You gonna buy?
No.
No? Is okay.
I don't
Matthew?
have an iPhone.
Oh, you don't? Oh, God.
No.
Get out of here. What are you doing?
Hey, there's
Wait.
there's other phones out there. There are other phones out
What
there.
is that?
That's not this discussion right now. That's not this discussion. Let's not start that. Let's not. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
People have options.
Well, I'm buying everything. I'm gonna go bankrupt, and I'm gonna get the phone,
$1,000
the watch,
phone.
the charging
Damn.
pad, the works, man.
Look at
It's
you.
happening. I'm a fanboy. So that's it. Matthew, you gonna buy?
Maybe.
Maybe.
I know I'm just gonna make a quick decision one day. Like it'll just be like I don't
Yeah.
I don't feel like I need to buy it, but I know one afternoon I'm just gonna look at the Apple website and just buy instantly. It that just happens for
Yeah.
me. But yeah, I mean there's a lot of exciting, cool features that I think are happening. For me, the most exciting things are really with the opening up of AR.
Yes.
Yeah,
That's
that
huge.
looks really
That is
cool.
huge.
That's huge. AR is going to be really big over the next couple of years, and I
Right.
think it's obviously a cousin of VR, which to me it's like that has some, like there's challenges with that. I feel like AR is just so much more practical in how you could use it. Because you could use your own eyes to see the world, and it's just augmenting that reality, right?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of cool things, and I'm glad that they're taking this upon themselves to say that, hey, we are the platform, we are the hardware for all of you AR creators to start
cool.
building stuff on there. So I'm really excited for what's going to happen on that platform there, and see how that's going to change and shape our lives, actually.
I think it's
Gotcha.
amazing with the processor that they have in there now and what it could do today. I see a lot of negative comments saying, oh, this new phone is trash, it's not a big upgrade, or it doesn't have what I need. But you guys think about it. You have a mega computer in the palm of your hand. This
Right.
was not possible even 5 years ago.
Yeah.
So to everyone that didn't have a phone back in the days, we had pagers, we had feature phones that just had
Beepers,
black and white LCD. Come on,
Yeah.
5 years later, you guys are in the future.
Right.
Give it a break.
I think it's a little bit longer than 5 years, Mark, but yeah, I see your point. Yeah, it's pretty amazing times that we live in, and I think that it's interesting from a technology and society standpoint of like
Yeah.
how that's going to change our behavior and how we interact with things in the real world.
Right. But let's bring it back to design.
Yeah.
Let's talk about how the new
How this will
new
impact
thing is
designers?
how does this impact you? And if you guys do any kind of user interface design, you know that like designing for the different phone sizes is a big deal. So finding those breakpoints and understanding how the users, hands operate the device and things like that. It's all really important. Something that I noticed from the design Twitter verse is there's a lot of people upset about the notch. And the notch, if you take a look at my screen, it's this black thing that kind of descends down into the screen area here. And there's a lot of UI people that are really, really upset about this. And I want to talk about that. So I don't get it.
I don't
I don't get
know
why everybody's mad.
I don't know why everybody's mad either, just because I think as a designer, regardless if you're doing print or for television, there's always guidelines for things like, here's the bleed area. Don't design
Right.
in this space.
Yeah.
Like, what's the big deal with that notch? Like,
Yeah.
that's reserved really for iPhone pertinent information, right? Like your battery life, if it's connected to a Bluetooth, et cetera, et
clock.
cetera,
Right.
the clock. So who cares? Just don't design in that space. Just
Right.
have some bleed graphics that go there. Like, I don't know what the big deal is.
Now, so let me ask you this. Let's say we're producing videos
Mm-hmm.
for YouTube, and we want them to go full screen,
Mm-hmm.
and now we have a notch to deal with. So how is that gonna impact video, if at all?
It doesn't, because whenever we design stuff for screens already for video, there's a thing called action safe and title safe. So action safe are just guidelines that are just a certain amount of pixels within the screen that you just keep all of anything that you feel is important.
Safe zone, kind of like
Safe zone.
when you're
Keep it
working
in
with print.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Keep it in here, because with all TVs, all types of screens, the projection is always going to be a little bit cropped.
Mm.
That always happens. So there's a healthy amount of space called action safe, and then with type it's called title safe. So it's even further in. All of your type has to be
Oh.
inside these guidelines, otherwise it might not show on certain applications. So to me, that doesn't change anything for what we're doing, because we're already designing for those guidelines.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and on the UI side, if you can take advantage of that space up there, if Apple's going to let you do that, where I don't know. I mean, I think that there's going to be Wi-Fi indicators and battery status, just like you were saying, tucked up in those corners. So if they do let you take advantage of the space, it's just another opportunity to do something amazing. That's it. It's just one little tweak that makes things interesting, mixes things up.
Right.
That makes sense.
But maybe all the UI guys out there have some insight that we don't. So we're
we're
just doing a counterpoint, our opinion, because we don't see the big deal. But maybe it'd be interesting to hear from a UI standpoint why people are freaking out.
So if you guys disagree, if you're upset about the notch, tweet the Future, and let's take the conversation onto Twitter, and let's use the hashtag the notch.
I hope there's nothing negatively associated.
We'll see. We will see. All right, guys. I think that's it for design news this week.
And so next we're doing Guess What I'm Thinking.
What?
One more time. There we go.
All right.
Sound effects work.
All right. So let's talk about this game. Molly, can you tell us a little bit about this?
So Aaron and I were trying to come up with a game or segment about what goes on. It's almost like 21 questions on how, the team, like Matthew, Ben, Chris, how you guys extract what the client is thinking when they're vague or when they just have something in their head, and how do you ask the right questions to gain like an idea of what to make them. So that's where this game came from.
Like you said, it's like a game of charades.
Yeah, it's kind of like Pictionary, but we're guessing.
Yeah, but I wanted to learn on like how Matthew and Ben, how you guys do it.
So like
cool.
The diagnostic process.
All right, so we are going to ask Mark some questions because Mark has a little video production company, and let's say he needs a logo, and that's the box that we're going to work in. So we're going to ask Mark some questions. Mark, are you ready? Are you ready to go?
Ready to go.
Okay, cool. So
I'll write down these questions too. So
okay, cool. So this is totally unscripted. This is unrehearsed.
This is raw.
This is raw.
I forgot. Was I supposed to do that at the beginning?
Yeah. It's okay. That's Chris's thing, not yours.
That's right. That was just another ball being dropped.
Do you hear that? Do we have a ball?
All right, so let's kick things off.
Okay.
First question that you ask somebody, like, hey, I need a logo.
Let's not do it like trying the breakdown. Let's just.
Okay.
I just want to have a conversation with Mark. So Mark, you're my client.
Okay.
You're hiring me to build you a mark for your company. Can you give me a really brief overview of what your company does, so I can get a better understanding of, what space you live in?
Sure. So I am running a video and media production company, and what we do is live action video. And mainly video that's targeted towards online marketing. I also do other video productions on the side for lifestyle events and weddings, but that's going to be less of the priority. So the main focus here is on media production for marketing. So the company, I still want to have a cutting edge feel. We have a lot of ways that we can help people get their videos online. So if I could find a logo or a word mark that really represents my company in a way that shows that we're up to date, we know what we're doing with video and with marketing.
Gotcha.
Yeah, that's pretty. Dang, that's really good, client.
Did you tell us the name of the company?
Right now, I'm doing business as Mark Contreras Studios, but I do have a few names that I'm juggling. I guess for the sake of this exercise, we could use one of the names, which is Dreambase.
That's cool. Okay, great.
Yeah, so Mark, I heard a couple things. Thanks for the overview, obviously. It's very clear to like what kind of space you live in, and there's two silos to your business, right? There's the marketing side and then on the lifestyle side.
Right.
And is there a reason why you're more focused on the marketing side versus the lifestyle stuff?
Opportunity. And it's what I'm passionate about. It's mixing my background in online marketing and my passion for video.
Right. And I guess in the long term for the future of your company, is that something where you would look to get rid of the lifestyle stuff altogether? Or is that something that you want to keep as part of your business?
I still want to keep it as part of the business.
Is that because you have a? Why is that? Is you have a personal attachment to those things, or?
Yeah, it's for me, it's a way to have more of a sort of creative control over some of the videos that I do create, rather than something that's completely client driven.
Right.
Yeah.
Totally get that. Totally get that. So it's a little bit of a release. You have a little bit more creative fun there.
So yeah, on that side, it could be open to things like documentary videos, for example, and something that's not strictly for business.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. Okay, so there was a couple of things I heard when you were describing the goal of what you want your logo to do, and one of them was being cutting edge. Mm-hmm. Now, cutting edge means something to me, and I'm sure it means something completely different to you. When you say cutting edge, what do you think of? Like, what comes to mind when you think of cutting edge?
I think as far as the look and feel of the word mark or the logo, something that looks like it is sleek in design, something that's streamlined. There are a few logos that I'm thinking in my mind here, but nice sharp edges, lines, nothing too rounded, and less of the sort of organic kind of hipster feel that I see in a lot of logos today.
So you don't want some of that hipster stuff in there?
Yeah, I don't.
Okay, so that's a lot of words in there that I'm trying to understand. So I heard sleek, streamlined, sharp edges, and you're not really into curves. Is that right?
Curves were necessary.
Curves were necessary. I mean, do you have any logos in mind that you feel like embody this idea of what you're trying to accomplish?
I do.
What is that?
I told him not to say.
Is this part of the exercise?
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's not break the fourth wall. It doesn't matter, because this is what I would do with a client.
When you're diagnosing with a
when
client.
I'm just trying to have us have a shared vocabulary. So if there's something in your mind that you already know, like an example out there, it's helpful for me to understand and then dissect that further. So I know you might be hesitating to share that with me because you don't want that to taint my way of thinking. But I'm asking you these questions so I understand we have a shared viewpoint on something, and we could break that down and see what you're really liking about that thing.
Right.
So what comes to mind when you say sleek, streamlined, and sharp edges?
I like the Electronic Arts logo, the video game company.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so
great.
Very
I'll
simple,
pull that up.
Simple colors. I think it's primarily black and white, but sharp lines and simplicity.
Simplicity. Okay. So EA obviously stands for Electronic Arts. Are you looking to do the same thing with your studio? Because you have Mark Contreras Studios. Is that like a MCS or something like that, or MC?
Yes, I would explore that.
Okay.
Yep.
That's cool. So you've narrowed down from, what is it? Is it an icon? Is it a monogram? Is it a typeset?
It could be a
and now we're getting
monogram.
narrower. Keep going. Right.
Yeah. So I mean, that's pretty cool. Like I like that EA mark. I think that's really cool. There was another thing that you had said. So that's a good starting off point for things being sleek, streamlined, and having sharp edges. That's clear to me, and that's a good example that you brought up. We could explore some visuals using this as a reference. The other thing you said earlier on was that you want your brand to feel up to date, or you want your customers to know that you're up to date. And what does that mean to you?
I think when it comes to video and the technology side of things, being able to tell our customers that we are up to date with our technology. So that could be considered with the type of equipment we have, the type of videos that we're creating. You were just speaking about AR. I mean, that's something that I would love to incorporate in what we're doing. And if that's somehow is built into the brand story of our studio.
Do you think that has to be something that's visually represented in the mark, or something that is just an overall feeling about your brand?
If it could be represented in the mark, that would be great. That's what I'm having trouble trying to understand. So if that means including some type of image of what a technology, what high technology looks like, I would be open to that.
Yeah, and I think there are some inherent challenges, and it sounds like you've already thought about this and explored this yourself. And the reason being is technology is always changing, right?
Right.
So if you commit to something like some kind of SD cam or some kind of technology, as soon as that technology changes globally,
that could go out of date.
Your mark goes out of date, right?
Right.
So I feel like that's something that's more of a feeling that your customers want to feel about your brand rather than something that's worth committing to. I mean, we could certainly explore that if you think that it's worth it. There might be something modular that we build into the logo, or there could be a space for something that we integrate in there. But for me, just my initial gut, it kind of feels like it might be something that is more of a feeling, and maybe we explore with the rest of the collateral and the rest of the messaging for the brand's personality rather than something that's committed to in the mark.
So something I just noticed there, you took a really bad idea, sorry Mark, and you explained it in a way that you led the client through a decision-making process that eventually landed at, hey, that's a bad idea. We should probably not do that, and this is why.
Right.
So that was a really, really smooth move right there.
Right. Because if I wasn't able to understand why that might not make sense, 5-10 years down the line, it would hinder on my decision today.
Well, cool. So we are tight on time.
Yeah.
Mark, how did you feel? How did you feel through that process?
I felt like he asked a lot of the right questions. He listened to me, and so he jotted down the main points that I really wanted to communicate with the brand story and the look and feel that I wanted. My question is, so when you said that I should be able to communicate that we're up to date with technology through the brand story portion of that, I guess how's that tactically done?
Tactically done, like for instance, any of your calling cards, like your website,
okay,
it would just be represented there. That maybe that's a page or some messaging that's in there, something that would come right after the value, right? So it's like, what do? I film and create content,
right,
to help you market your goods,
right?
Okay.
And then right after that would be, we have all the latest equipment to produce the highest quality videos, right? So that would just be a follow-up, something that you put in there and you reinforce with both messaging and videos. So if you have that as the messaging, which I know is really crude and straightforward, behind that you could show a photo of your studio and all of your gear laid out.
And
right?
what I think Matthew's mindset here is, when we think about brand here at Blind, it's a cohesive thing. So even though we were talking, the discussion was about the logo, we're coming to the table with branding experience, and we talk about the cohesive picture, the totality of the circumstances of the brand.
Right.
That makes sense.
Right.
Okay, cool. Well, that was neat. So
that was helpful because this is exactly what I'm going through right now. So it works out perfect.
Okay, cool. All right. So what's the next segment? What's next up?
Final segment is pitch this. All right. So we'll talk about this for a second. We played this 2 weeks ago, and I came up with I found online some style frames, and I want to see the way that Ben pitches it and the way that Matt pitches it and the difference between their vocab and just different ways of pitching, because I struggle with talking about design and I want to hear how you guys do it.
Yeah, so like the inspiration behind this was, I'm a self-taught designer, and Chris and Matthew and a lot of the other people here went to design schools. And what you learn in design schools is it's a lot by osmosis, but you pick up words and ways of describing things, that visual vocabulary that we as self-taught people don't naturally get. It's like we're not exposed to the same thing. You're watching your teachers critique things and explain what you're looking at in visual words. And so for me, it was wildly interesting to sit in on one of your pitches and hear you talk about, work when we were in that room, and then hear Chris pitch work. And so that's where like the inspiration comes from, is building that visual vocabulary. So Molly, let's see what you pulled up here.
Let's see.
All right, so we are looking at a 3-inch screen.
And I pulled them up larger,
good.
but that was just the overview, okay? And then here it goes into it.
Okay.
Boom.
I like that.
So these are really cool style frames that you just found randomly on the internet.
Yeah.
And then was there any context provided?
So it's Russian, and I don't know exactly what it's saying, but I know that it's saying, welcome 2013 the Russian forum.
Okay, let's give this some context so that we can both talk about it in the same way. The way I look at this is probably some kind of promo announcing an event.
Okay.
So let's keep it like that. Let's say it's a technology event.
Let's bring up the first slide.
Okay.
Yeah, that one.
That one.
Okay. So, as we progress through the slides, I noticed that things got busier, and the way this feels to me is it's basic, right? It's we're using geometric shapes in kind of unconventional ways, and it makes me feel like we're talking about technology, but we're also talking about basic principles because it's reflected in the shape and the color.
Wait. Are you start? Is this?
I'm going.
You're
I'm
going.
rolling.
Okay, so this is to the client.
Don't interrupt me, Molly.
So I'm sorry. I just needed to do the ding, ding, ding.
Okay.
Ready and.
All right. So let's go to the next one, and you just kind of like scroll through.
Okay.
All right. So the typography is clean. It's modern, and what we see here is like a collection of very, very simple shapes pulled together in a complex way. So this really makes me think of complex things made simple, or simple things made complex. The thin lines with the dots really makes me think of like technology, and that's all I got. All right.
So Matthew.
Matthew's up next.
So we're gonna do the same thing. Oh my gosh.
Okay.
This is a little painful. All right, I'm here.
Okay, want me to scroll through?
Yeah, I mean, before I get to that, I just want you guys to know, like, what we prepared here is just a set of boards to show you the sequence of how we saw this spot unfolding over time. And we're really thinking about conveying your event in a way that was a little bit unexpected. I know it has to do with technology, but we utilize a lot of things in here that were unexpected. So if we jump into the frames here, we start with the date announcement here. And you see we're subtly hinting at technologies, all these connected lines. So we have all these little nodes with lines connecting here and there, connecting information, since we are in the age of information. But you see we start to introduce these secondary elements, these larger shapes with these very beautiful textures in there. So there's something that feels a little bit warmer and a little bit more tactile, as opposed to all the cold and digital stuff that you would typically see when you talk about technology. So as we progress through the spot, you'll see more of these elements start to come together. And it's this idea that this larger network of things, all this information from around the world, is coming together in one place and gathering together in this event that you guys are throwing. And you see we're starting to introduce more of these shapes, again having this nice textural feeling from the marble texture here on this cylinder to some of the other varied textures that we have in there, again just giving it this nice tactile feeling. And then again reintroducing the information here, 2013, the release date of when this exhibit is going on, and then eventually blowing out and exploding, and then it becomes this larger, bigger experience. So it started off very simple, it started pulling in all this information, and now it's blowing out and becoming more of this celebration. So the next couple of moments here are just call out moments in the spot where we're calling out different bits of information. But as you see, it's this continual celebration that you get to from unexpected moment to unexpected moment until the very end, where we have this welcome. And we get this grand finale, if we cut to the last shot, where it's just this big celebration. You get to see how everything came together in this big, almost like a museum piece,
Feels festive.
It feels festive, that's right. And even though I can't read anything on here, like I think we share this collective feeling of like what this is going to be about. It's technology, it's about this exhibit. And again, it feels something that's welcoming. It's not something that's going to feel cold and turn off the rest of the population.
Okay, get the
Matthew,
dinger
that
out.
was so good.
Ding,
Everyone's
ding,
going,
ding.
yeah. People are going crazy. They're saying, "Ooh, Matthew's so good. Thank you. This is amazing.
Super
I need to
slick.
practice."
Lyrically rich.
Yes.
Oh.
You said warm, tactile against technology, and these patterns feeling exploding. Wow.
That was awesome.
I
I really like the way that you wove the story
Yeah.
through, because like the concept of style frames, like I wasn't even approaching that, and you tackled that by like weaving the story of the piece through and bringing the visuals on to support the story,
Right.
which is really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think the fact we can't read the text and still get a feeling out of this is testament to good design.
Right.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, shout out to whoever made those style frames because
Yeah,
they're
I tried
beautiful.
to look it up.
They're really gorgeous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe we could post that later in the comments. But yeah, really beautiful frames. And you know, the whole point of this is making sure that before you go into describing whatever you're pitching is to give people the context, right? Before we get into the details, let me give you a frame of reference for what we're looking at so you know how to evaluate these things. Otherwise, if I start flipping through slides right away, people are going to be like, wait, what am I looking at? Oh, where is this? So like I had to set it up at the beginning. It's like, here's the overall piece. Like here's how it's going to unfold over time. And I'm going to take you frame by frame of how this story develops.
Yep.
So then as the frames were progressing, I set it up. I talked about the details that we're calling out. And then I blew through some of like the 2 or 3 frames at the end where it's like, it's just more of the same, but it's just like calling out specific details. I don't want to spend time on that. And at the very end, it's like, this is the crescendo. This is where it ends. And this is why it's all important.
That's great, man. I was thrilled with what just happened.
Me too.
All right, guys, a couple announcements before we wrap up. During the infamous Helvetica live stream where Molly got bruised and beaten by Chris's critique, there was a contest at the end of the day.
Oh, that's
and
cool.
the contest was for a signed copy of Win Without Pitching. And so we've gotten a lot of feedback over the internets this week about, hey, where's the winner? What are we going to do? And so we're just going to announce it. So, Chris, if you're watching, I'm sorry, I picked a winner. So if you guys can share my screen, I'll blow this up as big as I can. The contest was to post a screenshot of what happened. And this guy made a meme where Chris is drinking Molly's tears.
Oh my
And so
God.
that goes to Chaotic Neutral. Just shoot us a direct message on Twitter or head to the website. Send us an email at hello@thefutur.com to get the signed copy of Win Without Pitching. Good job. All right, second thing. We have a conference coming up. The details, the dates, everything is on Facebook. If you are willing to fly here, we're going to be putting together I think it's a full day conference for the Futur. And that's all I got on that. So head to the Facebook for those details.
Chris will fill in, but it's like a whole day workshop where he's sitting with you, helping you understand your brand and helping you level that up, like figuring out your messaging a little bit, just like working in kind of like a group therapy message or a facilitated session where he's helping all of you guys kind of level up your individual practices. So take a look at that.
It's an in-person event.
It's an in-person event here at our office.
Yeah, we'd love to see you.
Yep.
So I think that's it. Thank you from me and Matthew for tuning in. Like I said, we'd really appreciate you guys smashing that like
show
button.
Chris.
Thank you, guys.
We got a lot of comments saying you guys are doing great. Love the dialogue. And so if you guys want Chris to know that we're doing great,
leave it in the comments.
Leave it in the comments.
this video and comment.
Cool.
Tell them again.
Guys. That's it. Thank you for joining.
Thank you.
Thank
See
you,
you next
everyone.
time.
Bye.